December 13th, 2018 at 7 p.m. Will Secretary call the roll?
Jim Lumberg,
Here.
Mark Hopkins,
Here.
Tim Ridenauer,
Here.
John Miasso,
Here.
Diane Nagel, Austin Hopkins,
Here.
Jack Allen, Jerry Callis. We have a quorum.
Have a quorum, okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of the November 8th, 2018 meeting minutes.
So moved.
There a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Are there any additions or corrections? Secretary call the roll?
Tim Ridenauer,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes.
and Jim Lumberg.
Yes. The next item on the agenda is number 18-06, Bucky's, rezoning upon annexation from the ER1 estate residence, zoning district to the B3 neighborhood shopping, preliminary site plan review, plat of consolidation of 2 lots into 1 zoning lot, and special use permits for an automobile service station, gas station, a car wash, packaged liquor sales, and outdoor sales and storage. Okay. And Angela, would you like to give us some background?
Yeah, I would also like to note that this is a public hearing as well. It is not noted on the agenda, but it was posted and all the neighbors were notified. And I do have all the proof.
Okay. The public hearing?
All right, the petitioner is requesting to annex 2 vacant parcels consisting of 2.18 acres and to rezone the subject property upon annexation from the ER1 zoning district to the B3 zoning district. The annexation will be discussed by the village board at a future date. The petitioner is also requesting a preliminary site plan review for a proposed 5,500 square foot convenience store to accompany an automotive service station with 10 gas pumps. A 3,200 square foot car wash is also proposed along the southern portion of the subject property. The proposed convenience store will be oriented towards Route 59 and would consist primarily of 8-inch by 4-inch CMU block in 2 colors, terracotta and cream, with a stone veneer on the columns at the 3 entrances. And metal canopies would add architectural elements over each of the windows. The tallest portions of the building, consisting of the 3 towers, would be 26 feet 8 inches, but the average height will be 21.4 inches, meeting the zoning code requirement of 25 feet. And the car wash will architecturally match the convenience store with CMU block and will be 18 feet in height, also meeting the zoning code requirements. The petitioner has requested 1 curb cut along Route 59 for access to the automotive service station, which would be located directly across from Norwood Lane. The village has been working with the petitioner with regards to this, and there will be ongoing discussions when it goes further in the process. It has been Bartlett's policy when reviewing commercial properties adjacent to one another that the number of curb cuts be minimized and a cross-access easement be utilized between adjoining properties. This encourages the most optimum traffic movements and circulation patterns between commercial entities while providing safe access onto public roadways. The preliminary site plan as proposed does not include a cross-access easement. The site plan does identify 59 parking stalls, including the 2 handicap stalls, which exceeds the zoning ordinance requirement of 36 stalls. And they do meet the required stacking for the car wash as well. The petitioner is proposing to install 2 8-foot tall retaining walls along with an 8-foot tall vinyl stone fence along the western property line. A 6-foot tall vinyl fence is also proposed along a portion of the northern property line. As shown on the cross-section, the subject property is approximately 19 feet lower than the residentially zoned properties to the west. The petitioner is requesting a plat of consolidation to combine the 2 lots currently unincorporated into 1 zoning lot, and once recorded, this lot will have 1 PIN number. The petitioner requested 5 variations, which were all discussed last week at the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, and they were all approved or recommended for approval. There are special use permits being requested to allow for the automotive service station and a car wash. The petitioner has designed the car wash to have the drier portion of the tunnel wash furthest away from the residential uses to the west. There are 4 vacuums proposed north of the car wash, and the retaining walls and proposed 8-foot-tall fence along the west side of the subject property should serve as a sound barrier to minimize any noise emitted from the car wash and vacuums. Internal vehicular circulation for the car wash would primarily consist of a counterclockwise pattern, with all vehicles queuing behind the convenience store and entering the car wash along the west side. Vehicles will travel through the tunnel wash and exit the building from the east. Vehicles would then either exit the site onto Route 59 or proceed to the gas pumps or the convenience store. The petitioner is also requesting a special use to allow outdoor sales and storage, including propane and seasonal sale items. Those are located directly in front of the convenience store. Petitioner is requesting a special use for packaged liquor sales, including beer, wine, and liquor. This would be the first service station or gas station permitted to sell packaged liquor in the village. Underground stormwater will be located below the southern parking lot between the convenience store and the car wash. The preliminary engineering plans are being reviewed by the village engineer, and the final engineering, including stormwater calcs, will be required during their final site plan review process. A traffic study was prepared from Quig Engineering, which stated that a traffic signal is warranted at the intersection of 59 and Norwood, and our traffic consultant concurs with the traffic study, saying the traffic signal is warranted, and she is also here if you have any questions for her tonight. And the village's land use plan identifies the area for commercial uses. Staff does recommend approval of the petitioner's request, subject to the conditions as stated in the report and the findings of fact. And I would like to note that this is preliminary engineering approval and site plan approval, so they will have to come back, but all the public hearings will already be done. And the petitioners are here.
Okay, thank you. For another public hearing, so tonight's a public hearing, and they'll have another one.
They will not have another, when they come back, it'll just be for site plan approval. It will not be for another public hearing. So they're getting all the public hearings out of the way and the annexation agreement taken care of at this time.
Okay, so that sign that's out there on 59 says public notice, not public hearing.
Correct. Public notice for a hearing.
It is?
Yeah.
I've usually seen public hearing. Okay. If it's a public hearing this evening, then I'm back by the clock over there. We have some sheets to fill out for anyone in the audience that has a question, comment, and would like to have their say about the project going in. And the petitioner's here this evening? Okay, could you stand and be sworn in, and anyone else that's going to be giving testimony? Could you raise your right hand? You swear the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge? Thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to add to what the staff said? Could you state your name and address, please?
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Richard McMahon. The address is 2500 Brickvale Drive, Elk Grove Village. I represent Buchanan Energy and an employee of Buchanan Energy and Bucks Inc., which is a development arm of Buchanan Energy. All right. Some of this is redundant, and I'll go through it rather than bore you quickly on the redundant parts, but hopefully I can add some other items to clarify as we go through it. Everyone knows where the site is. And this is a rendition we had of this early on when we were about a year and a half ago starting of what the store would look like once it's built. An aerial view. It's slightly different in this aerial view from what we evolved to. The difference in the site plan is that where the car wash is, there's now a green space in front of the car wash, and the car wash has been pushed further to the south towards the property line. Otherwise, essentially, this 3D depiction is an accurate rendition of what we're planning. At night, this is also done to show that it's designed so that no light trespasses off the property lines or beyond the property lines. And this is a view of the building, also done by the 3D people, that shows the design of the building and the blocks and the sizes of them and the detail that goes into the building. And what we're here for is a special use for the automobile service station and the car wash. This is kind of a landscape view, a landscape plan showing it. And we are also here for the special use for the packaged liquor sales. The floor space of the entire building is 5,520 square feet. The part of it that is open for customers is 2,800 square feet. The alcohol sales area will not exceed 150 square feet, so that's about 5.5% of the floor space for the customer sales area. We're asking for special use for outdoor sales for propane and washer fluid. The propane cabinet is depicted, one of them that we have in another store is depicted in the lower left-hand corner of the photograph, and the arrow points to where it would be positioned on the side of the building. And then we want permission to be able to have seasonal items such as car wash fluid on 2 positions in the front of the building. The site plan again, with showing the green space around it and how it sits in the environment. And the landscape plan, we have 264 trees and shrubs that will be planted. Today they told me that it would be a $106,000 investment to put those in. There's quite a few of them on the back side of the property, but we think we've well landscaped the remaining part of the site also. Now, one of your requirements in the community has been to try to maximize cross-access with other lots. We spent a lot of time working with the community on this and trying to figure out how to do our site plan. This was one version of the layout where we took the car wash, instead of having it on the south side, we put it on the north side. And what we have, and why we couldn't do this one, is there's a conflict with the exit and entrance driveway onto the property with cars that are on the fueling up at the canopy. And if we move the store further south and center the canopy on that, it becomes even worse. From our experience, we know that doesn't work. They have cars coming in and people still right in front of them with while they're fueling. We looked at another alternative, and that was to put the car wash on the south side, but that driveway has to be aligned a certain way with the restaurant on the to the south of us, and you wind up having 2 conflict points. You have a conflict where cars are exiting the car wash, still perhaps with a little bit of water on the windshield or whatnot. You're distracted when you come out, and having cross traffic right there in front of it, and then a second conflict point right where the driveway is and the internal circulation on the site. Both of those are highlighted with circles there to kind of bring your attention to those areas. The utility plan, it's a little bit hard to read it right here as it's blown up, but the stormwater is going to be handled in underground vaults. The underground vaults are able to withstand the traffic. They're concrete. And they will be between the car wash and the end of the completely underground. The stormwater is held there, and so it doesn't leave the site any faster than it does under its natural conditions. That's how it's designed. And the piping will discharge that water to the north. It will go off our site to the north, and it's designed so that it goes over to the wetlands that are further beyond the residential property to the north and the other vacant property to the north. The profile view, I just want to point out that what Angela had indicated about the difference in the elevation between our site and the property to the west of us. You kind of see this, and off to your right is the elevation for the road. And you can kind of see the elevation on our driveway and the building, and then the 2 walls behind the building, and then there's a fence on top of it. And then you have Mr. Walsh's house is depicted there in the gray, and we actually had people out there on his property, on his back deck, doing sightings so that we could figure out how to design this so that if you're in his dining room or kitchen, you won't be able to see the building. The grading plan is just here in case we have some detailed questions about it. This is the fence that we will be putting along the west of the property line, up on top of the walls. It's a vinyl stone fence. And then on the north side of the property, against Abrams' property, 6-foot solid vinyl privacy fence, and it'll look like this. We have sample of this if you wish to see it. It's the fact why we do it this way is it doesn't fade over time. You know, the typical wooden cedar fence turns gray over time. When they're done in vinyl, they stay the color and the design you have on them for their lifetime, and they're able to withstand hurricane forces. And so this is the view that was created, that we worked with Mr. Walsh, and this is what it'll look like from his back of his house. And you can't see the store. We'll be building up the property and then dropping down the 2 walls down to our site. You kind of see the position of the little character sitting over there, and that's the point of view for the reference. We have no wetlands determination. The downstream defender is a way of handling water that discharges off the site. All the stormwater that's collected on the site goes into the underground vaults, and then when it discharges from the site, it goes through the downstream defender, and that removes sediments, and it removes any oil that might wash into the, from people's cars. Some cars leak a little bit of oil. If there were a spill that didn't evaporate, it would go into this. If there was it just is a way of protecting the environment. And those are serviced every 6 months. A company comes out and opens up the manhole on the top of them and takes out any of the sediments and anything that's else that's floating inside those. They never fail. They just work on the basis of a vortex as the water moves through the downstream defender as it's exiting. The underground tanks are double-walled nowadays, and this is a cross-section. We actually have a sample if someone wants to look at one. The old tanks that went in the ground were steel, and over the 30-some years I've been in the business, I've taken tanks out of the ground which look like they've been put in the day before, but I've taken tanks out of the ground that you could take your finger and push right through them. It depends on the soil. Then the industry evolved towards fiberglass tanks. And the problem with fiberglass is they lack the rigidity of steel. So they sometimes coated steel tanks, but you still didn't have a fail-safe. So what the industry uses now and what is mandated to be used now on all new underground storage tanks is double-walled, and this is a cross-section of it. Now, they can be either dry in that interstitial area or have another kind of a liquid in it. But what happens is there are electronic monitors that are constantly monitoring that. And if, in the case of a dry one, they detect any moisture, whether it's water coming from the outside in or fuel going from the inside out into that space, the detectors sense it and they shut down the system completely. And you can't start it back up again until you figure out where that is. All the piping that comes from it is also double-walled and is also monitored. And another spot that we had a lot of leaks in the industry in the past through poor hygiene was where the tanker trucks would drop their fuel. Always after the drivers were trying to get the last gallon or so out of the hose, a lot of them have a tendency to just drain it right there into the manhole that the pipe was filled the tank. And over time, that accumulated fuel. Those are all now sealed, and there's monitors in those. Underneath the gas dispensers, there are filters, and over the years, people used to take the filter off. They're just like a car filter, and dump them underneath there, and that was just open ground under there. And that's all sealed off with monitors. So the system, if it detects either water or fuel, it shuts it down, and we can't start it back up again until we solve the problem. And these are inspected by the state. And I think I can leave it at that. Is there anything more? No, okay, so I'm open for any questions.
That's it. You finished with your exhibit? And
Oh, yeah.
or you have anything else?
No, we don't. Other than answer any questions you might have.
Oh, yes, we have a few questions, I'm sure.
Okay.
Okay. On your site plan, the copy that we have is really small numbers, so if I have an error in the numbering, okay.
All right.
You have several 2-inch barrier curbs, 2 inches? What's that going to retain? You have it at the north side of the building. You got one out at the island when you come into the property, and you have one going over by the stacking of the cars that go into the car wash. Only 2 inches? One snowplow is going to take that out. Why is it only 2 inches high?
Where are they located? I think you talked about one out in the street, but in the driveway,
You got a site plan to put up there?
okay, that doesn't know dimensions, so go to the, do we have a true site plan?
Richard, it's the two that are east of the convenience store where there's currently trees. All of
Oh, you're
those
talking
are
about those
2
little islands?
Yes.
Oh,
It says on there 2-inch barrier curb.
okay.
However, these are preliminary engineering drawings, so our engineer stated
Yeah,
that
over there where you start stacking where the cars are, that one's only 2 inches. The island, when you first come in off
Yeah.
of 59.
islands.
I understand
it's only
those.
2 inches.
Yeah, but we have them because unlike the 6-inch curbs around the property or on a street, these are there for solely the purpose of providing landscaping and breaking up the monotony of the site. So,
So it's not there for a safety thing for an automobile driving around. They can run them over.
well, I don't know of
2
anybody
inches
that's
is
ever
nothing. A lot
run
of
those
people don't
over.
even look for 2 inches.
Excuse me?
2 inches for a barrier is not nothing. People run over 2 inches.
Well, but there's landscaping and a tree on those.
So you're not putting it up for safety, you're putting it up for cosmetic reason.
Well, there's also, it helps direct people, they see what's there, and then it allows them to move around. But we actually initially came in without any of those islands on the ends of the parking arrays, but your community requires them. So they work without them, but they're there for helping guide traffic and also to provide a place for landscaping.
Our engineer stated that he would probably make them do 6 inches when they came in for final engineering, since this is just preliminary.
Okay, your car wash is brushless, or you got the brushes going through the car wash?
Yes, there's brush.
You use the recycled water?
Yes, we do, and it's required.
And at what point do you pay for the car wash? When you first enter the tunnel for washing a car?
No, Matt's pointing out where the pay station is, right up there.
There's a plate. That's where you would pay for it.
You can pay for that, or you can pay for it at the pump, or you can pay for it inside the store when you do a transaction inside the store.
Okay, back at Route 59, we have that island over there. We have one driveway wider than the other. You have looks like it's a 21-foot.
Yes.
You exit the property, and it says a 28-foot where it goes into the property, except that measurement for 28 feet goes to the inside of the arc and not the outside. So that driveway really isn't 28 feet.
We are working with IDOT on the driveway, and that driveway design under IDOT's jurisdiction will be worked out with them and is critical to whether or not we get a traffic signal. So it's going to be a focus of a lot of eyeballs, and it is right now.
Our traffic consultant can kind of talk about that a little more as well. However, it's currently under review by IDOT. They did not have that island, but the interpretation of a letter that we got from IDOT sounded like they wanted the island in there. So we are waiting to hear back from IDOT to see if that's truly what they wanted or if they meant something else totally differently. And we will not hear back from them until the end of this month.
So the in and out drive are going to be exactly the same width?
It's whatever IDOT wants it to be. like I said, we're waiting for their approvals on it, but this is.
Who made this drawing then, IDOT or the petitioner? Because why is it marked off with a 28-foot going to the inside of the arc and not the outside?
I'm not 100% sure on the dimension. However, their architect made this drawing off of IDOT's notes. So IDOT needs
IDOT's
to,
responsible for that then.
IDOT needs to approve this if this is truly what they're looking for. Like I said, there might be no island when it goes through at the end. We're not 100% sure what IDOT was looking for in a comment they made to us.
And you will see this site plan
Whether or
again.
not the island is there, the measurement going to the north does not stop where the arc begins. It goes past the arc into the grass area. I guess that's what's going to be there.
Well, they probably were measuring to the back of the curb, but this, what you're getting in the level of detail isn't as deep as the level of detail that goes into it with IDOT. But they're not equal on both sides either. We originally had it designed with one lane coming in and 2 lanes exiting the property. We're working with IDOT right now on a final configuration that's acceptable. It has to line up with Norwood. It has to function to IDOT standards or we won't be permitted.
They're designed so that the incoming lane is smaller than the exit lane. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it could be.
So your drawing is basically on a regular average car. What about the great big pickup trucks, the 2500s that are made by Ford and Dodge and those guys? They need a lot more room than an average car. They need a bigger arc to turn in.
All right. This is a turning exhibit
Yeah,
that we
that-
designed. It shows how it works.
Right there. Stop that, right there when you're coming in off of it, right there, that drive, right there. It's marked at 28 feet, and it's not 28 feet.
Richard, I think what he's looking at on this plan is that it shows it to the back of the curb versus the face of the curb.
Right.
I think that's what you're talking about, Jim. And if, that can be clarified at the final site plan. If you want them to provide measurements to the face of the curb, that's fine. That's fine.
I thought I was looking at accurate stuff here. Are we just looking at
This is a preliminary plan. You will see this again.
preliminaries don't come up with the accurate information?
And because IDOT has not provided or approved the information, and that's
Again, you
why.
guys are pointing the finger at IDOT for the width of a driveway.
And this driveway width might change again. It's possible.
Okay.
This is not final engineering. We've been through this with the village, and in working with the village, we reduced the store from a 7,100 square foot store to a 5,500 square foot store, and there are many other changes here. This is preliminary engineering. The actual dimensions of that driveway have not been solidified by IDOT, and that they will be, though, and they will be to their standards. And the village will, of course, accept their standards because those are the folks that have control over this road, and their standards are widely accepted. They have a book of driveway designs, and we have to adhere to those. We don't get to freelance on the driveways.
But if nobody ever brings up the question of why is that one say 28 feet and it really isn't 28 feet, everybody else down the line is going to think, oh, gee, that's perfectly fine. Let's just push it on through.
No, they won't. When IDOT gives us, it will be down to the inch, and there will be no distinctions between whether it's to the front of the face of the curb or the back of the curb. At final engineering, that will all be nailed down tight.
Okay, your underground detention, that's going to hold how many gallons?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it is sufficient. The stormwater design is also in with the village and with IDOT, but I think it's about 3/4 of an acre foot.
And what happens after a heavy-duty rain and it gets filled up? Then what?
It's
I mean, we've been
designed-
having the 500-year rains quite often. Where does that water go?
It would stay on the driveway until it drains.
Just stays there, okay?
It won't go out onto the street.
All right. When you first drive onto your property, you're going to have 2 ways to get to your car wash. You're going to go all the way around the gas pumps in the backside of the building, or you're going to go straight through to where you start queuing up to get in line, correct? Are you going to have signs telling people which way to go?
Yes, we shall.
Because, again, there's nothing on here telling me that you're going to have the directions of where you're going.
Directional signage is actually shown on engineering plans, and if Matt, you can show, there'll be a no, oh, right where you were, the one-way sign. There'll be a sign that says you can't enter the car wash, right to the left, right there, yeah. It's a do not enter sign, will be right there. But that doesn't show on our site plan, that shows on engineering plan.
Okay, so if you have the cars, according to this drawing that I have, you have 10, 15 cars stacked up back there, and somebody decides just to have a car wash, not a gas, and they drive straight through, how long are they going to sit there in order to get through that line?
They cannot do that, it'll have a big sign that says do not enter, so you can't go straight. You
It's
can,
based on what?
there'll be a do not enter sign, so you can't just head west. That is only a bypass exit lane if you decide to get out of the car wash lane.
Well, if you can't head west, why is there a sign that says no right turn? Once you get to that stacking of cars that are behind the building.
We'll have to take a look.
Because it's a one-way. It's because it's a one-way traffic lane. And if you would like
I
signage,
understand it's one way, but if you can't go west to get to that traffic lane,
because just like Angela stated, that it's an exit bypass for the car wash lane. That's why.
so what you're saying then is when the cars are sitting there and car number 10, 11, 12 says, I no longer want to sit here, that'll be an exit so you can get out of there without going to a car wash.
Correct.
But it's not an entrance to get into the.
Correct.
And if you would like
Well,
signage,
that's what I asked about the sign. Are you going to put a sign to tell the people to go around your building? Or is there a sign that says you can just continue going straight west? And you said there's going to be two signs.
No, I did not. I said that the signage will be designed so that cars will go around to the north of the building, around the back of it. And there'll be signage that says no entrance on that end of it. That's an escape. A lot of communities require escapes for stacking, and we'll properly sign it. That doesn't mean that if no one's in line, and it's 8 o'clock at night, someone
Okay,
might.
so along with the no right turn sign, there'll be a sign that says do not enter.
Correct.
Okay. Again, like I said, I don't have all the information here. Again, I guess it's all this preliminary stuff. When the cars go around the building, according to this drawing here, you have 12, 15 cars, and you have a fence on the west side, 2 of them. Why do you have 2 fences on that side? The vinyl brick fences.
There's
Right there.
2 8-foot walls there, not 2 fences. Those are 8-foot walls. Go
Yeah, why are there 2 of them there?
picture.
To get up high.
Those, back up.
They're tiered
Yeah, why do you have 2 of them back there?
to get up to.
Because it takes 2 8-foot walls to get the elevation. Matt's showing right there where they are.
Again, this is cosmetic, so when you're on your property, you don't see.
Absolutely not cosmetic, it's structural. See the earth, follow the line there?
Are we building a wall so people don't get through there? Is that what you're stopping them for, putting up 2 walls?
Right now, sir, the land flows, so follow my red, and it continues down like this. We're digging out here, and we're getting it up, and then we're also building higher up so that we're blocking the view from this property. So there's 1 8-foot wall, and then it steps in, another 8-foot wall, it steps, and it crowns, and then there's the vinyl fence that is stone textured on top of that, and then all the landscaping on the back side here.
Okay, so now you have 15 cars stacked up back here, and it's a hot summer day, and car number 10 all of a sudden overheats and starts on fire. How do the people in that line get out of there safely? You don't have any exits off those walls for people to get out. There's no doors going into the building. So, you know, I'm just making hypothetical things, but things happen. So where is the safety factor for people? Obviously, they can't get in their cars to move it, so they have to get out of their cars.
We'll show
So
you.
how are they going to get over an 8-foot wall?
This is it. That's what it's going to look like. They can get out and walk out.
You got a building that's 115 feet long. You got to have these people, there's no doorway through that fence at all.
That's not a fence, that's a wall.
But there's nothing on the other side, right? Except another wall.
You're gonna have to go
No,
north or
there's
south.
God's dirt on the other side of it.
Okay? But again,
We're
there's still,
cutting into a
you have no safety valve for if something should happen in that 115 feet. That's a long
Right.
distance.
I suppose there isn't, but we don't ever have 15 cars stacked. We can go into a study, which we have for some communities, and show you. The old requirements that said you had to have 15 cars were when we had in the industry the rollover car washes, like you see in the mobile down the street. They're 44 feet long. You go in, it takes about 5 minutes to wash. After a salty day, you know, we would have 15, 20, 30 cars lined up for those. This can hold 4 cars at a time. It moves them through. It takes 1 minute at a time. We have kept a camera on our store in Vernon Hills for 2 years watching the stacking. Vernon Hills is our busiest store, and we never have stacking beyond 6 or 7 cars. There are also many other car washes now in the industry that are a different part of our market that offer a more full service. They have people at the other end of it that will hand dry it and whatnot, and those folks attract people. This is a different kind of car wash. It fits a different niche. We have 6 or 7. Your ordinances may require 10 or 15, I don't know what it is, but we rarely get that. But in the apocalyptic scenario that you just brought up, people can get out of the car and they can walk away, just as if you were in the Holland Tunnel going under the Hudson River.
All right. Back at the entrance off of 59, whether we have a light there or a stop sign, if 2 cars are sitting there,
We won't build it without the light.
pardon?
We will not build it if we do not get the light.
That was my question.
If you have 2 cars sitting there waiting to get off your property on a 59, and there's a lot of traffic going on, and the cars are coming out of the car wash, your driveway looks like it only has about 3 car spaces before it gets to those cars that are sitting there waiting to get on 59. What happens to car number 4 that's just still in the car wash and is about to come out? Does the car wash shut down?
There's loops that shut it down, yes, sir.
Does it shut down automatically?
There are magnetic loops that detect
How does it
and
do
shut
that? Is
it
there
down
a
automatically.
photo light or something that says, hey, there's something blocking up here, we can't go any further?
Yes,
Is that how it shuts down?
Pardon?
Is that how it shuts down, so the cars don't bang into each other?
Yes, sir.
I think I had enough. Anyone else have any questions? I think I had enough.
Well, you say it's 115 feet across the back, so, I mean, even if you're in the middle of the back, you're only 60 feet to get around the edge of the building. It's not that big of a distance.
I have a quick question for staff. Is there any other gas station or car wash or something similar to this that only has one entrance into the property and exit?
Just think for a moment.
I've been thinking too.
In town, correct?
In town, yeah, I've been thinking too. I can't think of anything else. My concern is that if there's a traffic light there, there's going to be accidents. And once you have an accident there, everybody is trapped in this gas station. And depending on the type of accident that's going to happen, they could be there for up to an hour or 2. I really think there needs to be another exit, entrance, or even if it's just an emergency exit. In the stacking that he brought up, I mean, you're going to get cars that are going to be stacking up just as they get done with gas, or they go to the cafe or get something, pick up a propane tank. You're going to have, when that light's red, you're going to have at least 5 cars or 6 cars that are waiting to exit. So unless if IDOT is willing to make that entrance where you have a dedicated left, a dedicated straight, and a dedicated right. And even then, you're still gonna have stacking problems leaving this place. I would think that something would have to be done, the car wash would have to be moved to the other side. You would have to reduce your number of pumps in order to accommodate the number of people. How many, what's the traffic counts going, that Bucky's will see in a typical day?
About 1,000.
About 1,000. So, and then during rush hour, obviously, it's gonna be a lot of cars going in and out of there. So what is the scenario if there is an accident in front and people can't get out and there's an emergency and that entrance is blocked?
It's blocked until it's cleared.
Has a emergency exit been thought about?
No.
Has there been, if some type of route around bypassing the car wash to the south, if somebody gets up there and they can no longer pay, and they need to get, they can't, and there's a couple cars stacked behind them, and they need to get out of the car wash lane for some reason?
You say physically, is there a way to get out? No, there's a grade difference between ourselves and the restaurant to the south.
Those are my concerns that would have to be addressed on a final. And, because, I mean, it looks like a great facility and looks great idea and everything looks great. There's just the traffic patterns, the traffic flow is gonna be very difficult. And will there be diesel?
We have diesel for cars, yes.
Diesel
I
for-
drive a diesel car, so yes, there are
Okay.
dispensers on either end for that, but not for trucks.
Not for trucks, and trucks will know not to go?
Yeah, you'll have several ways that they know not to go. Number one, there's no fast flow pumps for them, and a large truck wants that. Number two, it's not designed for a truck with a trailer on the back, an 18-wheeler, and truckers don't like to mess around with cars, and cars don't particularly care to be on the same lot as, so it's mutually exclusive. We don't offer, or nor do we advertise the kind of payment systems that drivers of fleets use.
Right, and then when they need to fill the tanks, obviously the trucks, the semis that have to come in for that, where will they be filling up at?
The tanks are over where Matt's pointing on the north side, and we do have the turning radius diagrams that show how the garbage trucks and delivery trucks would maneuver on the site.
And are there certain times that they are scheduled to come, or could it be any time?
There are trucks, so we schedule them when we feel it's necessary, and we would not schedule a truck to come in unless it were an emergency during rush hour, but it's designed so that the truck can align itself and dispense during even a rush hour and not interfere with the flow of the traffic on the site. This site is, our distances on site are greater than most other of our competitors, so that there's free flow. We feel that free flow on the site's important.
Thank you.
What is the flow of the refueling trucks? I can't see the little lines on my little map.
Yours, yeah. There you go.
Oh, I sort of see.
That helps.
Sort of. So they go
Use your
west past the fueling area and make a clockwise circle? All those radiuses are fine and dandy?
Yes.
All right. Is Bucky's, is B-U-C-E-E-S, is that part of you also?
No, those are folks down in Texas.
That's different, okay. Well, I was looking at some of your other stations online, Some of them have some really nice veneers on the facades. Look pretty nice. How come this is not one of those?
I didn't understand the first part of your question, sir.
I said I was looking at some of your stations online today, and some of the facades had some very nice-looking veneers on them to make the building look a lot nicer. Doesn't appear to be one of those. I was wondering why.
It's the same building.
It is, but it does not have the same external surfaces on it. This is concrete blocks, right? Are they just painted concrete blocks?
We have some here for you to look at.
It just seemed like some of them looked a whole lot nicer than this one you proposed for us. Do you have different designs?
We built some a while back with clay brick, but we've changed to CMU over time.
Go down.
These are, I mean, there are no other C-stores in this area that come close to the designs on these and the elements on it.
You're saying this is one of your better designs, your better aesthetic designs?
It's our current design. It incorporates our best elements of our design. It's the same store as Glendale Heights, Wheaton.
The same look that what's going in at County Farm and Army Trail?
No, there's some differences on that one. That one incorporated a design that we tried out in Texas where instead of the stone there, they have a white CMU, and we're not going to do that again.
That one's also
And we're
8
using a
inch by 8
smaller,
inch.
and we're using a smaller block on that one. They also, down there in Texas, had gone to the 8x8. We do have some stores in Texas, but it's still BUCKYS. We have 3 down there. We were using 8x8x16 block, and with staff's discussions, I went and looked at it, at the one in Carroll Stream with the 8x8, and agreed with staff that we need to go back to the 8x4, and we've agreed to go back to the 8x4x16, which is the size of the brick size that you see in all the other stores.
Discussions are continuing with regard to the stoplight between the village
Correct.
and petitioner.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, does Bucky's sell top-tier gasoline?
Do we sell what, sir?
Top-tier gasoline.
It's only mobile, yes, sir.
Pardon me?
Even if it weren't mobile, it would still be top tier, yes. As far as I'm concerned, there's only 2 tiers. There's that tier, and then there's a lower level that's a lower octane and whatever, and we don't touch that.
I'm just curious.
The motor fuel nowadays, it comes up through pipelines. It's basically fungible until you get your truck to the rack. And when the driver punches in his card number and whatnot, then the additives are put in that make it different, what makes mobile different from BPs versus Shells.
So this is mobile? They're mobile?
The moment revision is mobile, yes.
I didn't read that anywhere, sorry.
Well, we're multi-branded. We have Exxon as a brand also, although we've not done one here, because Exxon and Mobil are owned by the same company. And we also have our own independent brand, Bucky's, as a gas. We're anticipating doing this one as a mobile, and that's what we're showing in the signage in the elevation, so it'll be mobile.
I have some questions. Can I ask a question? Okay. Mr. McMahon, I think the project is great. I have a couple concerns that I think you take going forward, and one of them is the lack of cross-access agreement, or easement to the restaurant. That would cure the emergency access that Austin was talking about. It appeared on one of the sketches that you used as an illustration up on the screen, but it doesn't appear in the petition. Why not?
We were working with staff over the past year and trying to accommodate that desire for cross-access, and this was showing what we saw as our issues with it and why we didn't do it.
Why didn't you do it?
Conflict right there is people coming in and out off of 59 with cars fueling at the dispensers.
Well,
On the end of the-
it's not where the canopy is shown at the moment, is it?
Oh, this is a discarded design. This
So
was showing why.
what stops, so the honest question here is, what stops the cross-access agreement from, or drive from working between these two properties at this point?
Right there are two reasons. This is one of the two, where we're showing if you do the driveway across, it has to be lined up a certain way with the restaurant because of their parking, and it would create a conflict with cars exiting the car wash, and a second conflict right there. We think that entrance, there'd be too much activity going on right there, too many movements. And then the other one, go back one, is the simpler one where we move the car wash all the way to the north. We have an issue with cars entering the site conflicting with cars that are fueling at the dispensers under the canopy.
I hear what you're saying, although I disagree with your saying that there's a conflict with the cars exiting the car wash and the cross-section road. The car wash could be pushed west or something else. Not trying to force myself on you as the land planner here, but it sure seems like it was discarded prematurely since it seems to be so essential. That would be my response, and I think it's a legitimate concern, especially concerning the emergency access that we were describing. I think going forward, once you get past the point of getting a light, then all of these motions that come together and wait at a light to make either a left-hand turn or a right-hand turn for a green light, and they're coming out of the car wash, they're coming out of the parking lot, they're coming from around in front of the canopy at your 20-foot setback, and they're all coming together for these two spaces where there's no stacking. So they're all going to be coming together and nosing at that point. And I think for our village traffic engineer and for the petitioner coming back, I think we need to be able to address that stacking and waiting and cycling, during your peak hours at the light. And I think that's, next time you come around, that's going to be a concern I think we have to prove through. Then I'd ask you, please, what's the construction of the retaining wall? What's the material on the retaining wall, Mr. McMahon?
Actually, I don't know to be able to tell you other than the structural engineers will be hired to do it. It's going to be a masonry block wall.
It's going to be a system,
Yes, sir.
like a,
Yes.
it'll be a block retaining wall?
Yes, sir.
So you choose a color it's complementary to your,
Yeah, we could, yes.
you could?
I mean, to
think it'd be
me,
a
I
good
didn't,
idea
I
to-
never thought about that, yes.
Okay. It'd be a good idea if we could see that. There's many different systems out there that we're familiar with and others that we're not. There was no texture shown on your perspectives. I think we'd like to see that. We'd like to see that because it's 16 feet of wall behind this thing, it's going to be almost as important as your building. And your building is important, and you spent all this money on landscape, and you improved it, you showed how much, and all this money on the nice walls, and then, in my opinion, you cheaped out on the concrete block for their wall material. So you might have tried them with clay brick before, but I would urge you to try it again, rather than go with the split face stained concrete block, which in the olden days, we used to reserve for the back of a shopping center rather than the front. So I would ask you to consider that, and that would be another concern that I would have for you coming back. And then my last question for you is, you noted two places for outdoor sales, one on either side of the front facade on the sidewalk.
Yes, sir.
And that would be the limitation of it. There would be no piles of mulch out around the curb and got
Correct.
piles of salt between the islands and stuff?
Your ordinances don't allow that. That's why we're asking for a special use to allow it only in these spots that we've asked for and shown here.
That's it.
Absolutely. That's correct. That's it.
Okay, right. That's great. I'm done.
When you were talking about the cross-access, were you talking about a permanent,
Yeah.
full-time one?
Yeah, that one that's shown there.
All right, and in the past, we have done emergency ones that are not open all the time, haven't we? For different
That is correct.
various,
And we have done cross-access easements too.
yeah.
Yes.
So even if if it turns out that it's a severe problem with flow there from the car wash and the entrance and exit and the gas lane, we could at least have an emergency one that could be opened in an emergency situation, don't you think?
We hadn't thought about that, so it's an interesting comment that folks have brought up.
'Cause I know we've done that even for subdivisions.
We have, and I'm adding it to
We
the
have,
list.
if we,
Anyone else have questions, comments?
Well, the entrance and exit, some problems be helped if we had two lanes exiting, one going straight or left and the other one to the right, instead of a single lane coming out.
We don't, in our negotiations with IDOT, that's what we're struggling with. IDOT is, in their kind of way of putting it in their letter, indicated that they would prefer one lane in and one lane out as a justification for the warrant. But we can't live with one lane in and only one lane out because the wait would be too long. If someone was at that light, which isn't going to turn frequently because 59 carries so much traffic, so if there was a person in that single lane out that wanted to make a left or to go straight through when the light permitted, they would be blocking all the majority of the folks who want to make a right-hand turn out. And we know that would be the majority of the turning rates just because of our study and what we know of the area. So you're right, that's kind of a do or die for us with IDOT, that we get two lanes off the site as well as one lane in.
I'm going to have Lynn Means, our traffic consultant, come up and talk a little bit more about that as well.
Good evening. As mentioned, my name is Lynn Means. I'm with Gaywald Hamilton and Associates, and we reviewed the traffic signal warrant study and analysis, and we did concur with the statement that we would also suggest the two-lane exiting to minimize the queuing and stacking. As you're aware, with similar signals that are located along Route 59, the side streets don't get a significant volume of green time, of time that you would have to exit. So having those two lanes would definitely facilitate the exiting maneuvers. Related to how the traffic signals are warranted, there's engineering judgment and some interpretation to the MUTCD, which is the Manual Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which is the guiding factor for traffic installations. And so a two-lane approach such as this, we would consider almost a one-lane exiting for volume warrants just because of the way that it functions, that it's not truly two lanes deep. It would have to be over, I think, 150 feet of storage lane plus tapers to really fully be functioning as two true lanes. You're almost getting two short lanes that are really, it's almost operating really like a one-lane approach as far as the analysis goes. So I think some of that negotiation between their consultant and IDOT is some of that interpretation of the code and the analysis for those warrants. But we would concur that two lanes would be critical to have the site function well internally. I don't know if there's any other questions that you have for me while I'm here. If I can, I'd be happy to address them. I jotted in my notes beforehand that I concur with, if it's possible to get that emergency access in that location where it may not function as a cross-access continuously open, definitely as an emergency access that has validity to being, you know, possibly gated or looked at if that's a possibility as well, too.
If the light went in here, there would be a dedicated left turn lane going northbound, right?
Yes, there would be a dedicated northbound left turn lane. That's part of their analysis that they had as well. So there would be a left turn lane, its own signal head, so it would get, you know, an arrow so they could turn in on that arrow as well going into the site.
Is there a deceleration lane for McDonald's entrance? Do I know that?
I don't believe so.
And IDOT would, you know, consider and evaluate too whether or not, I haven't seen feedback, whether or not they would want to have any, a deceleration lane in the southbound direction as well as part of the signal installation. That would be part of their analysis as well to evaluate if that's deemed necessary based on the volumes as well.
So this is all to be decided, yet to be decided.
Yes.
Anyone else have questions, comments? Okay. And at this time, I'll open it up for public. Is there anyone in the public that has a question, comment, statement? Anyone at all? Okay. Close the public portion of it. Any other further comments from anybody in here? Okay, Angela or Roberta, you want all this done in one vote, or do you want to break it down into 4?
That is up to you, if you are feeling how everyone is voting.
Does anyone have any objections to doing just one vote?
We could do one vote. I'm wondering if we want something in there that states with the emergency access, or do we want to just wait?
Could I go over what I think, I took some notes, and
Please.
I'd like to go over that with you to make sure that we're on the same page of what you want staff to continue to work with the petitioner on. Is that okay? All right. So I have directional signage. I have stacking and cycling with regard to the light and the curb cut on 59. Looking at the traffic flow, building materials.
And wall materials,
That's coming.
retaining walls, sorry.
Curb cut design, and again, that's primarily IDOT's jurisdiction, but, you know, we do have our traffic consultant, and we will take a closer look at that with IDOT and the petitioner. Emergency access. I've got lack of a cross-access easement, which also ties into the emergency access, possibly. We'll see. And then I've got the color of the block to match the color of the wall block, correct?
Somebody makes a good choice, a conscious choice, and brings it in and shows us.
To coordinate architecturally and the color match with the fence, the wall fence. Is that correct, Mark? The wall, you want the block of the retaining wall
I think we'd like to see the proposal.
in some colors. Gotcha. And that's what I have. Did I miss anything?
Yeah.
What did I miss?
Curb.
Oh, and the curb. I've got that as the height of the curb. Correct, Jim? Your curb height, 6-inch curb height?
And what
That's a
part?
requirement from our village engineer. I mean, it's a requirement. He's going to have to do it, so. But I can add that onto the list. Okay? Anything else?
Just, and you can add this as part of the emergency access, just, just some type of better explanation if, you know, somebody can't pay when they get to the entrance of the car wash,
What do they do?
what do they do?
Okay, so at the pay station.
At the pay
Concerns
station,
with the pay
yes,
station
yeah.
and emergency exit.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Now, do those things have to be worked into the motion, or is that something that you'll work with them?
Work that into the motion.
It's going to be a long,
Everything's got on the list.
I think that's a long, yeah.
Everything is on your
Everything
list,
on Roberta's
okay.
list.
Well, this is preliminary approval.
Yes, and you will see this again. So staff's going to still be working with petitioner, but I just wanted it on the record that these were your concerns.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, you got your list?
I got my list, yes.
Okay.
It's on the record.
So then we'll do it all in one motion, one vote?
I'm comfortable with that.
Everybody agree on that? Okay. Before I ask for a motion, I'd like to state that I'd like to see the project come through, but I have a problem with the findings of fact, number 3, where it says the circulation within the site provides for safe, efficient, and convenient movement of traffic. I really have trouble with that, you know? Somebody goes to the vacuum over here, and then wants to get into the car wash, got to go through all the traffic by the gas pumps or by the store that's buying products, you know, in order to get in the line to get into there. That's a lot of problems, so anyhow.
We could take a look at that too when we do final engineering. I mean, maybe we do allow cars right there. I don't know. We'll talk to the petitioner about it.
Okay, then let's, is there a motion then to approve the, where's it at here? A motion to approve the petitioner's request for rezoning upon annexation from the ER1 zoning district to the B3, preliminary site plan review, plat of consolidation of the 2 lots into 1 zoning, and the special use permits for automobile gas station, car wash, packaged liquor sales, and outdoor sales and storage, subject to the following conditions and finding of fact, and the list that Roberta has.
So moved.
You have a motion? Is there a
Second.
Any further discussion? Secretary call the roll.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jack Allen. Yes. Mark Hopkins,
Yes.
Tim Ridenhour,
Yes.
and Jim Lumberg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Good luck.
Those things,
Next item on our agenda is old business, new business.
We just want to say thank you. You get a small token of our appreciation tonight. Some of you got a little more than others, depending on you hit a milestone on your years of service. You got a little something in your bag, but we just want to say thank you very much, and it's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any old business, new business they'd like to bring up? Okay, then do we have a motion to adjourn? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?